What is up, guys? What's going on? How's everybody doing on this fine Sunday afternoon? I think it's the last Sunday where we're going to have some warm weather here, and I think fall is kicking in rather quickly. Anyway, the video at hand, as you see up here, this is a divot system. The divot system is something that I saw about, I'm going to think it was about 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. I saw a very short video on the divot system, which is how I became aware of it. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I didn't know what to make of it at the time. I thought, well, this is another way that it is possible to have no damage to a shower pan. As I started giving it some thought, and as I saw the process, I said, this is a lot of work. And I'm trying to figure out the end result. I'm trying to figure out in my mind if this is a good idea or not. In fact, even I thought about trying out this divot system on a shower at some point, and I never did. Kind of never look back type of mentality. So the last 4 videos in a row, and the last 4 Sundays in a row, I've made videos on Red Guard, that stuff over there, Red Guard, about Isaac. And Tile Coach specifically uses Red Guard in the wrong way. And I called him out on those videos, on all 4 of those, because he blamed it on the Red Guard itself and not the homeowner and yada yada. Go back on my channel and you'll find all 4 of those videos for the last 4 weeks. So there's really nothing more that I can say in regard to his use of Red Guard. There's another one that I'm going to bring up probably next Sunday. This homeowner that actually put it on the right way without following the directions. He claimed he followed the directions, but I know for sure he didn't. He did some things doing his Red Guard application that Isaac never did, and he did it correctly, and it's bulletproof. And so I'm going to bring that video up next Sunday. In the meantime, I want to talk about this divot system because I still don't have a clear opinion about whether or not this is good or bad. And I don't know where it comes from. I know hot mopping comes from the West, specifically California, and we would never, ever consider hot mopping here in Metro Atlanta, nor the South, or anywhere else that I know of. I think it's antiquated for the use that it was intended for back in the day before there were other waterproofers. Yeah, okay, well, here's a way to waterproof your shower. But going forward in time, I think hot mopping is antiquated, smelly, messy, all those things that I don't see the reason to use. And I don't see the reason to use a divot system. Now, if you disagree, if there's anybody out there that's actually done the divot system, chime in the comment section and let me know if you've done one before, if you're married to it or not, if something that somehow makes your shower better, makes your shower more functional, makes it more bulletproof. Like, I want to know what your thoughts are. I don't have any strong thoughts. The only thing I can say is a lot of work. And I'm going to show this video without further ado, if I can bring it up here. I'm going to kind of come off camera. I'm going to chime in every once in a while, but I'm going to let it play as long as I possibly can, so that you can wrap your brain around some of this stuff. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. Like I said, it's just a lot of work, and I don't think it's, at the end of the day, really worth it. But you tell me.
This moment is a template I created using the bottom of a bucket, and I found this at Home Depot because this drain right here, the circumference size of it is exactly 8 inches. So whether you're using a 6-inch drain or a 4-inch drain, you'll need a perfect size template to set over the drain. Now, this bucket that I've used is exactly 8 inches, and it fits perfectly from edge to edge over my drain. Now that we have the perfect template with the right circumference, time to cut the height of this template, and in order to determine the height of this template, we must know what the shower floor slope requirement is. You can always ask a GC to find out what that slope requirement is, or if you don't have a particular slope requirement, you could always go with a typical 1/4 inch slope per foot. So in this case, from the wall to my drain, I have 2 feet in length, so a 1/4 inch per foot equals a 1/2 inch drop between these 2 feet. So now that we figured out the most important, which is a 1/2 inch drop, I can go ahead and find the right size to cut my template, which is approximately, in this case, 2 inches in height, but every shower will be different. Now that we have the perfect size template for this divot method, we will proceed with the shower mud pan as usual. Before I start on all my shower mud pans, whether it's a divot method or not, I always apply a thin coat of thin set mortar on the surface so that the sand mix mud bonds better to the concrete. This also helps to avoid any hollow when the sand mix is all set and done.
Okay, I want to chime in real quickly on this. Let me bring my ugly mug back up. I'm going to chime in on this. The thing that I can appreciate, hold on a second. The thing that I can appreciate what he said, two things kick in here, my thoughts. There's no pan liner. It's a concrete slab. And even when I do a shower that has a concrete slab, I still default to a pan liner, even though I'm doing a seal system on the surface. He's not using a pan liner of any sort. So I would agree. I would pretty much agree that screeding out some very runny thin set on top of a concrete slab and then putting your mortar on top will have a better adhesion quality. But I've never done that before. I've never not had some type of backup system. I don't even care if it's a Curdy. I have used cloth membrane as a pan liner in the past when it calls for it. I won't get into the reasons, but I would never have a backup system on one of my sealed systems. It's just force of habit. I've done pan liners for so long, 22, 24 years, that I would not do a pan liner. But I appreciate the fact that he knows that that mortar is going to have a better adhesion. So I just wanted to kind of chime in on that and kind of make that clear on what he's talking about and the reason why.
That being said, I will continue to finish mud packing the shower floor as I would any other shower with the slope already set. Notice that I filled the template with sand mix and added a few nails over the top so I can easily pull when needed. Next, find something to cover the drain or a drain plug so that you don't have any debris or sand mix falling down the drain. Now we put the 4 bolts back in so that sand mix don't fall in any of these holes. Guys, for the main event, the divot structure around this drain and coordinating with waterproof. The fabric fell on a steep drop like that, it won't work. It's impossible. So you want to do this at an angle. I will use this tool for now. I start off by using the putty knife, the 3-in-1 painter's tool, and start removing some of the mud's sharp edge around the drain. However, this won't reach all the way to the rim, so I'll bring my trowel for that. I like to use my trowel, the pointy part, right at the edge of the rim. Right at the edge of the rim. See that? Right at the edge.
Okay, I'm going to skip forward a little bit because I don't think it's necessary to go through all this instruction because, at the end, I'm just trying to show the end result of this seal system that he's doing.
As this example right here, the fracture-free fabric on this one has air pockets. They couldn't make it sit smoothly with the angle of the structure. And this example on the right, it looks a lot better, it's a lot smoother, and they were able to do the relief cuts and fold it in with no air pockets whatsoever. So that's it. I finished scraping off the angle of this divot structure. Now I am using my hands to basically finish molding it and making the sand mix smooth, because if you don't make it smooth, it will dry rough on the basically on everything that you scraped off will dry rough. You want to make it smooth. I patting it down using my hands, just smoothing it out. Of course, I have gloves on, and so Now the sand mix will be a lot smoother because we're taking in consideration that we got to waterproof this, and if we don't make this smooth, then the sand mix, it'll get really sandy, really rough, and you don't want that on your waterproofing. You just want it to be nice and smooth. And this is what it looks like completed, and it looks great. The divot angle, perfect. Now once you have the red guard all set and done, by the way, check out the videos I have on red guard and this divot pan. Now to complete, you want to add thin set on the side wall of the divot so that the sand mix bonds better to that red guard. Next, you want to add a few pea gravels over the weep holes of the drain. Now,
Okay, so I'm gonna chime in here too. I don't, and people that have watched my channel for any amount of time know that I don't believe in the water in, water out system. How this is done is a little different, because now the excess water that's on the surface of his mortar pan that is waterproofed, the only excess water is going to go through the grout line of your tile and somehow trickle down into this divot system and then go into the weep holes. Okay, I don't know that there's that much water going through your grout. The amount of thin set between your waterproofer and your tile, the amount of thin set that would get wet through your grout line is so minuscule as not to matter, in my opinion, especially on a smaller shower. It's going to dry out. Like most of your water's on the surface and is going down your drain, but any amount of water, I don't know how much water that a divot system would catch into, and I'm going to call it a funnel, divot. It looks like a funnel. And so the water would go into that funnel and then into the weep holes. And again, if anybody's watched my videos, I don't believe in the weep holes being clogged, which is why I would never put rocks there. Water can get into your mortar pan. Your mortar is porous. Water can get in your mortar pan over here and over here and over here. But when it reaches the weep holes, you can clog it with mortar? No. And I've shown that not to be true on a mock-up that I did. If somebody wants to see that video, I'll put a link. Just ask me and I'll put a link with my response. Weep holes don't clog with mortar. There's enough on a PVC drain, OD, Sioux Chief drains. There's enough areas. There are 6 weep holes. There's 6 troughs on the top and 6 on the bottom. There's a cutout on the male thread of your drain barrel. There's 2 cutouts there. And then you have the bolt area. Water can egress a lot of different places, not just the weep holes. So I would never advocate for rocks, pebbles, little tiny stones or whatever that are porous. That are solid, that are dense, as opposed to porous mortar. It doesn't make any sense. Like any of those rocks that he's showing there could potentially clog up all of your weep holes. That's kind of a side note, but so what basically you're seeing here, so he screeds out some thin set the same way he did on his mortar pan, and that's going to make that excess mortar that he's putting up there to the drain level stick a lot better, which I would agree with. When he goes forward with setting a tile there, let me play it.
not as much as this picture, but yeah, then the sand mix, you want to make sure you pack it good, and you want to set the height of the drain perfect to fit to your shower floor.
Okay, so there we go. And let me blow this up. So the tile is going to now, see how that system works now? You see how this whole idea of water getting through those grout lines and somehow trickling down into this funneled area that he's created. Now water has an egress. Now water can go into that mortar, because at the end, that mortar is still going to be waterproofed. So I don't know how. I think the mortar. I know that the divot itself. I'm going to show that later on. The way he waterproofs his pan surface, and he uses a sheet membrane to accomplish that. He never shows whether or not this last layer of mortar into the divot area is waterproofed. I think not. I think that would be contradictory to the whole purpose of having a divot system. I think it's basically just free and clear mortar, and water can now trickle into it. It's very fundamental, but I don't know that it's needed. I'm having a hard time grasping the idea that this is better than not. Like if you didn't do this the way I do it without the divot system, is my way better or is this way better? Is there a particular reason, I suppose is what I'm getting at, to use this method?
Before the sand mix obviously dries.
Okay, so now we're going to go, we've already gone backward. We're going to go forward because the video is kind of messed up. So this is the process that he's showing. And I think he puts 2 coats of Red Guard and he does the whole thing with a brush, which is be correct. Like you wouldn't do it on a mortar pan with a roller, you do it with a brush.
Now you got to make sure you go thick with the waterproofing. Now remember that we filled this in so that I didn't have any gaps. It's not necessary, but it's safer to keep the Red Guard from puncturing, because after this is waterproof and hard, this becomes hard and you can easily poke at it. So once you have, you know, a strong surface in the back, we'll waterproof where we're at. I'm gonna try to do this video as quickly as possible. I've done about 400 of these, so I'm pretty much know what I gotta do. So just follow with me. And
okay, so when I said that he's using a sheet membrane, it's actually fleece. So he has this fleece membrane that he's putting now currently in the corner. So he did 1 coat of Red Guard, stuck the fleece membrane into that, and then is painting Red Guard over that fleece. And then he's going to fleece the entirety of the mortar pan.
And now, as y'all see, that corner piece is in there. All right. And this is the flange. Now you can do this 2 different ways. Now I have multiple showers here, so I decided to find a fast way, which is get all the 12 by 12 pieces, set it in the middle, cut these holes from the flange. Or if you don't have the flange or you don't want to use the flange, you set this over the top and you find the screws and you do a quick slit on the fabric, then slide the fabric through. But I'm gonna show you the best way to do it, which is right here. All right, you center this as you would there, the fabric, right? And then you know that all your holes right here are where they should be. So you grab a knife, you go from one side to the other. You don't move the flange. You go from one side to the other. You go from one side to the other. Same thing on the last one, all right? So once you got that, you wanna make sure that it's nice and cut, right? They'll look good, perfect. Now, very important, all right? So I'm gonna keep a 1/4 inch away. I have to do these relief cuts. These are relief cuts that I have to do because of the angle there, the paper folds, so I need to do relief cuts. Now these relief cuts, you need to leave about a good 1/4 inch and cut back. Good 1/4 inch and cut back. Good 1/4 inch and cut back. Good 1/4 inch. This is a little tighter, you know. Say it's a little tighter. Put the screws in here. I'm gonna fold each end. That way you don't get Red Guard on the bolt. Now that you have all the screws in and you have the felt the way you want it, you want to fold each end inside. Right? Then you want to put something on it to hold it. Don't matter what it is. Piece of tile. Right now I have the drain right there. Perfect. This is the most important part out of this whole waterproofing process, because between the drain and the mud is where the most problems happen. Right here, I'll show you. Right between that's where a lot of this water tends to leak, between the rim and the mud. That's where a lot of the problems really happen, besides, you know, any punctures or whatever. But this is the most important part of the whole thing. Trust me, if this is not correctly done, it would fail. Everything else can look pretty. All the water is going to drain through here and not going down the drain. This is the best part. All right, so what you want to do is slightly paint over it around the whole circle like this, around the whole hole. Go around the whole circle, go around the whole hole right there. One quick layer, just so that we know we have some waterproofing going all the way around, right? All right. So now you take whatever you got holding the fabric out the way, and then you open up this little, you open fracture free. And what you want to do is stretch it. Stretch it within here. And now, very important, you see this? I'm pressing this down. This is why I was wetting the rim, because this part needs to bond with the fracture free fabric, this part. So right here, you gotta press down on it. And this is the reason why I said make sure that this rim part has a lot of waterproofing, because you wanna make sure that it's looking, that it's going through and looking this way, so that you know you have 100% sealed around this area right here. There. I'm trying not to get the screws too dirty. If you get the screws with RedGuard, they're easy to clean, not really a big problem. All right, now this part right here that I'm about to do is not necessary, but the reason why I like doing this part is because it makes it a lot easier to cut. When the waterproofing is dry, I can easily cut this, and I'll show y'all later. Now we're getting closer to the end. We're using the last coat of waterproofing over the main surface of the shower floor pan. We're getting ready to install the last sheet of the fracture-free fabric. Now that we got the waterproofing, we go ahead and stretch the fabric across the surface of the shower floor, and we make sure that it's nice and stretched, making sure that the fabric doesn't overlap or create any kind of bubbles. If so, we stretch them out. Once it's all ready, we get ready to apply the last coat of RedGuard over the surface of the shower floor fracture-free fabric. Consistency is important. We want to make sure that the RedGuard does go through the fabric, it seeks through, and it bonds all together. Now remember, we have the perimeter, we have the corners, we have the main surface of the pan as we're doing now, and we also have the fracture free in the main drain area, all going to integrate with itself, which creating the perfect waterproofing shower floor liner.
I don't know if I agree with that. It doesn't make it perfect. Does it make it better? It's an interesting concept that he's doing, because I'm thinking in terms of, okay, I'm not using a divot system. You know, I'm doing it the same way that I would normally do my shower pans, which is only a couple of coats of RedGuard on the surface of the mortar. So now I'm thinking, would it be better to do a coat of RedGuard on the surface of the mortar and then put a fleece material on top of it and then overlap the fleece material, where I'm embedding basically the fleece material into the first layer, and then I'm putting a second layer like he's doing, and then just do it the way I normally do it. I don't know. I think it's a little bit of redundancy. The fleece material obviously isn't waterproof, but it does make the whole thing more monolithic, and I don't know. What are your thoughts? I might try that one time. I might see if that makes any sense to me on a practical. I don't see anything that could go wrong building a shower that way. Just forget the divot part of it and just put a fleece material on top of the thing. Would that be it'd be the same as Curdy though, wouldn't it? Without the waterproofer on top. I don't know. It's a bit of a redundancy, I think.
As y'all can see, the circle's right there. And what you want to do next, when you cut this out, you don't want to do slashes. You got to keep in about about 2.5 inches or 3 inches all the way around the perimeter evenly around the perimeter. You leave about 2 inches to 3 inches around the perimeter evenly. All right. When you get to this part, then you might have to stretch it a little bit. All right. So there you go. I just cut out the middle. I left about 2 inches all the way around the perimeter. Not perfect, not needed. And now that we got that done, here we go. We cut these slices all the way around. All right. Should have done another slit right there, but it's okay. Now what we're doing is pressing down on it really quick, like slightly bringing it down so that it overlaps the other fabric that we put there in the first place. So now as you see, as you can imagine, the first felt's right there, and then this second felt comes over the top going this way. So when the water comes through, it's going over the top, you know, and it's going all the way down. So this is the proper way of doing it. It's the right way of doing it.
Well,
now this is the final one. This is the one that you really want to be the final thickness. Nice and perfect. Get right back to that. This drain is ready. The reason why I just went ahead and painted it all was so, for one, you get all of it to the edge without a doubt. Second, it's easier to cut whenever you come back. You start off here and you move to the edge, and you kind of cut at an angle, kind of like going at an angle this way. Very important not to puncture any of the rag guard at all. You know, which is not that easy to do, but still you got to be really careful when the blades are sharp. At an angle, come around to get as close as you can to the bolt. Bam, that's it. Now next is loosen up the bolts, which that one's already loose. See how the rag guard just comes out pretty easy. See. So anyways, lift those up. Then you grab the flange. You got the flange. Put the flange on, lift the bolts high enough, make sure you got play. You know, you don't want to be damaging the rag guard, squeezing it in, make sure you got play. As you can see, everything fits just right. So now that the water is settled, we're going to go ahead and mark it with a pencil. We're going to go ahead and mark our water line. Leak any, it didn't lose any water. Thanks for watching. Before I go, I'll explain how to complete the mud pan around the drain area. The drains have 3 weep holes. These weep holes must be covered with a few pea grass.
okay, that's where we left off already. I don't, you know, as I said before, I can't wrap my brain around the advantage of doing it this way. I know for a fact that Red Guard's only been around. I've been using it when it first came out, basically when it first came out about maybe 12 years ago, 12, maybe 13 years ago tops. So did the Divot system exist before Red Guard, or any waterproofer for that matter? Or, like, I want to know the history. I want to know who decided that a Divot system would be a good idea to integrate with a waterproofer, because you can't do this system without a waterproofer. So there was a problem, in my logic, there was a problem that the Divot system solved. Like, I don't know. It's a lot of work. It's the same type of work when I see Curdy being used on walls. And a lot of tile guys out there continue to make videos where they're putting wallpaper on shower walls. And they're screening out their thin set with the trowel, and they're pushing it out with a 9-inch blade. And oh my God, the work that's involved to put that up, where it doesn't make your shower better. If you use any liquid topical membrane and use a roller on the walls, walls don't fail. Walls do not fail. The failure point of every shower is ankle below. Walls don't fail. So the fact that they're using Curdy on the walls and going through all this work is really for nothing. It's not making your shower any better. It's making you feel better, but that's about it. And I kind of feel the same way about this Divot system. I don't know how it makes your shower better. It's a lot of work, same as Curdy. It's a lot of work that he had to go through with, as I said earlier, with the redundancy that he's done on here. It looks nice, and he does what he does very, very well. I can appreciate the effort that was put into making it happen. But I don't think the juice was worth the squeeze, because I don't see the advantage. And again, if anybody has done these before on a consistent basis, then let me know in the comment section why you think it's a good system. What is the advantage? I want to know. I'm just not seeing it. If I saw one of the videos like this, as I said, probably the first time 8-9 years ago, and I felt that it was better, that I felt like this way is better than the way I've been doing it, I would adopt it. I would integrate it into the same way that I've raised my wall board by that inch off of the floor and all that stuff a long time ago, where I was the first to ever do that. Like the NTCNA didn't even advocate to do that prior to me. I think the last edition, or maybe 2 editions ago, now they advocate for that because I guess somebody saw my videos and said, hey, that's a good idea. I don't know. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I want to get your opinion, especially tile guys that are tried and true, that have been doing it, 20 plus years like I have. What are your thoughts about this whole thing? Or even if there's like an engineer in the comment section, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. But anyway, that's the video I wanted to make. Yes, it has a little to do with red guard because, you see all the red there. Yeah. So anyway, that's the video. Next week, next Sunday, as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm going to put up another video where a homeowner actually does red guard better than a lot of so-called experts out there. I'm going to go through the process of why I think he did it better than most of the experts. So look for that video next Sunday. For the rest of you guys, enjoy the football game if there's a football game. I'm not a sports guy. I don't know anything about football or what the schedule is or anything. And so I have no idea, but I'm assuming it's Sunday, so it must be football. But if it isn't, then my bad. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your evening, whatever you happen to be doing.